Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius. I want to say that I have been having so much fun in my Facebook group, the MiloTree Mastermind Group, and I welcome you to come join me over there. So head to Facebook, search for the MiloTree Mastermind Group, and please join it. It is such a nice community of like-minded entrepreneurs helping each other. I'm in there all the time doing Facebook Lives, chatting. I want to hear about your business. I want to see what you're doing. I want to follow you on Instagram. So please head over MiloTree Mastermind Group on Facebook. For today's episode, I have Paula Rollo back on the show. She's MiloTree Community Manager and my very good friend. And we're talking about productivity. We're being really honest, and we are sharing about what we found that works, what we found that doesn't work, where we're winging it in our businesses, where we've got it scheduled. So if you think about productivity, definitely listen to this episode. If you've got some amazing productivity hacks, I'd love to hear them. Email me at jillian@milotree.com. I'm always trying to learn. And without further delay, here is my interview with Paula Rollo. Paula, welcome back to the show. I love having you.
Thank you for having me back. It's always fun.
You're like my co-pilot. So today we decided that we wanted to talk about productivity.
Yes.
And what I will tell you is productivity is one of those things where I believe we all feel like we are failing.
Yes, so absolutely. It seems like everyone else is so productive.
Everybody's so productive and somehow I can't get it together. I think that's the narrative that we all tell ourselves. And the truth is, my mom, who's very wise, says this thing, which is balance is something you move through and you never stay in it. You move through balance into imbalance.
That's good.
And I try to internalize that because there are certain days where I sit down at my computer and I am rocking it and I get through so much of my to-do list. And then there are days where I sit down at my computer and it is as if I am walking in molasses.
Yep, absolutely.
So I've tried to step back and I've tried to think about where am I most productive? And when am I most productive? And I have this fantasy that I've lived with for the last 20 years, which is I am a morning person. Now I do get up early and stuff like that. But what I have learned is my natural rhythms are such that I kick into my best work space at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Wow, when kids are coming home.
Weirdly, yes. And I am productive. Like I can weirdly focus from like 3:30 till, 5:30. I mean, I'm working throughout the day, but if I need to do some heavy lifting, that is my natural rhythm. Now, there are times when, exactly, my daughter's coming home and I can't use that time, but something about the realization that my time, my most productive time where I am aligned is not from 9 to 11. Like most people say, oh, that should be your most productive time. Whatever reason, my rhythms are such that weirdly in the middle of the afternoon, that's when I can get my work done.
That's interesting. I don't know what my specific time of day. I know that evenings are better for me than mornings, but other than that, I've not pinpointed a certain hour. I'm going to have to watch for that in myself.
Yeah. Now my husband, David, my partner, he is a night owl. So he, like you, like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, he is jamming. Yes. So through the day, he's doing kind of the stuff he needs to do. But if he has to do some serious programming, he loves when it's really quiet. He loves when it's dark. He loves sitting there. And that's when he can focus.
That's so interesting.
So
David's my people.
Yeah, totally. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, I want to be sleeping and stuff. And he thinks it's crazy that, when my window is. But one thing that I would say is just pay attention to your rhythms. Notice when things become more effortless. For me, 9 o'clock is kind of filled with effort.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And something about coming to the realization that this is my time, and that I'm not a, morning person for work was really freeing.
Yes, because you feel like you have to push through that otherwise in a way that's not helpful.
And I read these books and everybody says 9 to 11 is when you should really do your, deep work. And I'm always kind of like on the internet, on Facebook or reading news thinking, oh my God, I'm missing my window.
Yes.
So my one recommendation is just pay attention to your own rhythms, because chances are there is a window during the day when things come more easily to you.
Yes. And I think even just knowing, like, I may not have a specific hour in mind that I know is going to be my most productive hour, but I do know that if I start to feel like I can't push through right now, my brain can't get in this creative space where I need to write or where I need to create something from scratch, I won't usually muscle through that anymore where I used to, and then I would make subpar work. Instead, what I will do at the 9 a.m. shift or in those shifts where I feel like I'm just not all the way there, the way that I'd like to be, is I save up my mindless work for those hours.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes this even happens in the middle of a post and I just can't write another sentence. And I know that it's just not going to be good,
Mm-hmm.
like my best work, if I continue doing it. So I'll save what I'm doing and I'll shift and I'll go schedule Tailwind for an hour, or I'll do something like, usually it's scheduling social media because that's such mindless work, but whatever I have saved up, and I do save up those tasks that really don't require any type of heavy mental engagement or creativity on my end. It's just things I can do in my sleep.
Yep.
And I'll do those in those hours when I'm just feeling like I can't be creative. I'm either sad or I'm sleepy, or it's just 9 a.m. and I'm not all the way there yet. Coffee hasn't kicked in.
Right.
And that's when I'll use those times. So it's not like I'm avoiding all of my work. It's just, I don't want to use the time when I am at my best and at my most creative and be like, I have to schedule Facebook right now.
Yep.
And I'm wasting that creative time. Instead, I work on mindless work when I'm tired and good creative work when I know that my brain is sharp and at its best.
I am with you. I do the exact same thing. And then also I get that boost afterwards of, I just scheduled this, or I just did this, mindless task and I did it, and now
Right.
I'm ahead.
You accomplished something.
So, right. And then that feels better than rotting on Instagram.
Yep.
Now, one thing that I use that I think that helps my productivity like nothing else is I do this thing called the Pomodoro technique.
Yes.
And there is a little website that I go to, and it is called tomato-timer.com. And it is a timer. So the Pomodoro technique is this technique, you can Google it. And it's based on those old like tomato timers that you used to have in your kitchen.
Okay.
And the idea is that you set the timer, and it is for 25 minutes. And you work for that 25 minutes. And at the end of the 25 minutes, you get a 5-minute break. And then you set the timer again, and there's a 5-minute timer. You set the timer again for 25 minutes. You do your 25 minutes, and you get your 5-minute break. You set it again, do your 25 minutes, and this time, if you've done it 3 times, you get a 10-minute break. And for me, 25 minutes is about the maximum amount of time that I can focus. And something about 25 minutes does not feel indefinite. And in fact, I don't know about you, but like if I say I'm going to take 2 hours to write this blog post, the truth of the matter is I will goof off. I'll pretend that I'm working, for half of that time, even 3/4 of that time, because, and I'll struggle, and I won't let myself get up from the computer, and like I'm kind of bitching and moaning within myself, and like I'm in this internal battle. And the truth is, I'm probably only going to work 25 minutes of that 2 hours.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So this way I get on my own side and I go, Jill, you can work for 25 minutes. It's doable. And I watch the little timer, and it'll be like 17 minutes left. And I'll be like, oh my God, that was only 8 minutes. But I continue, I continue going until I reach 25 minutes, I promise, is doable.
Yeah, and I think anybody should be able to do that if you really, really focus on knocking it out.
Yeah, and you bring yourself back. You go, okay, 17 minutes. And then you check you see the little timer again. You're like, okay, that was another 5 minutes. And I keep going. And I get some of my best work done when I use this method. And when I do it is when I have something to do that I am dreading.
Mm-hmm.
Because somehow I have learned that 25 minutes is doable.
That's interesting.
So I
never
go ahead.
Specifically time myself like that, but that's a really interesting technique to have that timer ticking away.
And then it is something like, then you get that break. And even though it's 5 minutes, okay, now I can do whatever mindless thing. When I was in college and I was taking really boring classes, what I used to do was buy a trashy novel. And I would take the trashy novel to the library with me, and I would kind of do the kind of similar strategy, which is if I study these chapters, right, for my econ class, then I can read one chapter of my trashy novel.
That's great.
And that was how I got through college. And that way I was still sitting at my desk. Like I wasn't doing, and this was before the internet, I wasn't doing anything that was so distracting because, I'm still reading. I'm just reading my trashy novel.
That's great.
So anyway, I think that tricking myself in those, giving myself these small increments works really well for me. If you try this and it works for you or doesn't work for you, please reach out to me. I want to hear, how you do it and whether timing, works for you.
And I think it's important, too, that when we take those breaks, we're being intentional about what we're doing, whether it's a novel or I often will go for a walk outside or just stretch. But I know that earlier on in my career, I was doing things like playing a game on my phone, scrolling mindlessly through Instagram, checking Instagram stories, those types of things. But because we're digital entrepreneurs, we're online all of the time. And so I feel like my brain doesn't necessarily accept that as a rest or as a break when I'm still staring at a screen. Even though maybe I'm playing solitaire or I'm playing whatever the game of the hour is in the App Store, it's still so much action and activity and brain engagement that it's not really resting and it's not really giving yourself the reset that you need to be able to go back into that creative space, be it 25 minutes or an hour or however long you're doing it, the same way that even just getting up and stretching for 60 seconds would be a better rest than watching a show on Netflix for an hour.
Yes.
Because your brain's actually getting the rest that it needs and your eyes are resting from staring at screens because it is hard staring at screens all day.
Yes, definitely.
So I think that that's an important piece when you're trying this work and break method, whether you're timing yourself or not, because like I said, I often don't use a timer, but I can tell when I'm entering in that space where I'm getting tired and it's like, no, I'll be able to write quicker or do better if I take a break. When I take a break and put my phone down and go outside, I come back way more refreshed than if I sit down and watch a show while I eat my lunch or do something like that.
Yes. I'm a big tea drinker. I drink this green oolong tea from Taiwan, and there's something really beautiful about it. And for me, my break is I walk all the way downstairs. I have these really steep stairs in my house, and I go and I take my tea kettle and I wait for my tea to heat up, and then I make my it's like this beautiful color. And for me, that is my weird break and something about, and then I smell my tea and I love it. And it is just this ritual. It's a ritual that I do for my break, which is I go and I make my tea. Like even before we recorded this, I was like, I just have to go make my tea. And I drink it all day, but it's something about the making of the tea that really is, I find, very soothing.
Yes. But I think your brain knows that you're entering into this relaxed state where looking at your phone, it doesn't get the same signal. And I'm not any kind of a brain scientist or anything, but this is just what I've noticed in myself. And it seems to make a lot of sense that you have to signal this is good rest time.
Imagine growing your Instagram followers with no work. Highly engaged followers. Now imagine it with Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube? How about new email subscribers? Seriously, no work. This is all possible if you install the MiloTree pop-up on your blog. David, my husband, and I started our blog, Catch My Party, in 2009. We've since grown it into the largest party ideas site on the web with millions of page views per month. We did it with hard work and our secret weapon, our MiloTree pop-up, which David built for us. We've grown our Pinterest followers to over 1.3 million and our Instagram followers to over 164,000. And right now, 8,000 other bloggers just like you are using MiloTree to grow their businesses. With MiloTree, you can focus on growing one platform or switch between several. But here is the important thing. If you aren't converting your visitors into followers, subscribers, and customers, you're honestly wasting your own traffic. Make this asset, your visitors, work for you. Since we're bloggers, we get bloggers. So we've optimized MiloTree like crazy. It's a snap to install. It won't slow your site down. It's Google friendly on mobile, and it's so darn cute. You can even add animated sparkles to your pop-up if you like. Sign up now and get your first 30 days for free. Please pause this episode and head to milotree.com to sign up. I know you will thank me. As a bonus, once you sign up, I'm going to send you weekly actionable business tips to help you grow your business. I've been at this a long time and I have a lot to share. Remember, your scarcest resource is not money, it's time. So let MiloTree free up time for you so you can focus on the other important parts of your business. So what are you waiting for? Hit pause, head to MiloTree, and sign up today. You would think that with Catch My Party and MiloTree and my podcast that I am just so organized and I am scheduled to the hilt. But the truth of the matter is I also wing it. And I weirdly have tried every productivity app out there, and we do use Trello boards, which you know, because we work on them together. But my weird system, my down and dirty system is Post-its. And I have Post-its all over my desk because something about the fact that they are tangible and they are right there and that I can just put something down on a Post-it and then I see it and I don't have to check back like on my computer with my checklist. Weirdly works for me. Now, Paula, what is your system?
So I have two. Well, I use Trello with Yo, and so I work for a few different people. So I use whatever system they're using. I love Basecamp. That's something I use with another person I work for. But for my personal stuff, I use a paper planner.
Do you? Okay.
I know that I'm still living in like 1995, but I cannot get through without that planner. In fact, my house just flooded and one of the things I grabbed was my dumb planner because
oh my God, yes. I use paper, big paper, those like at a glance calendars. I have one that's my personal calendar and one that is my business calendar. And literally same as you, I travel with, they're big. It's like, I don't know, they're like small. 8.5 by 11. I mean, we're talking big. I travel with them. I do not have my schedule, my calendar on my phone. So if I go to the doctor, like the dentist, and they go, okay, you know, how about let's schedule your next appointment in 6 months? I always have to say, I'll call you because my calendar is at home. So I too am one of those old school people who has to have physical calendars. I have to see it in front of me.
And mine has to be Erin Condren. I've tried every other brand.
Okay.
And the price tag is steep and it
very
kills
steep
me every year.
Yep.
And I have tried so many cheap just Target planners and I can't do it. The way that she's laid it out, it's like that's the way that I have to do it. It has the morning, noon, and night areas. It has the, weekly part on the side. Like just that is my system and I can't get away from it.
I love Erin Condren. There's I think the flagship store is here in Austin.
Oh, that's right. It is.
And it's literally we cannot walk by without my daughter going, we have to go to Erin Condren.
I'll have to go when I come up for
You totally do. Oh my God. All the cute little things. So I love Erin Condren. But weirdly, that's too beautiful. I need the most utilitarian calendars the like ugliest, big, like just block calendars, but everything goes in my calendar and I feel lost without them.
That's funny.
So and again, I have tried every possible calendar app, every productivity to-do list. And then what happens is somehow if it's in my phone or on my computer, it gets kind of hidden.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't know where you put anything and it all looks the same. And it's just, I can't do it.
And the other thing that I use too, because I guess I really do like physical paper, I use grid paper pads. And I take all my notes on these pads, and all I do is I put the date at the top. So like if you and I have a conference call where we're going to brainstorm, I put the date at the top. I write conversation with Paula, and then I just take the messiest, most incomprehensible notes I possibly can. Like I'm not like a bullet note taker, but yet somehow that works for me.
It's interesting.
And then I just have them and they have dates and they just have, conversation with Paula or whatever, meetings that I have. And it's just another page. And then I go back through them and typically I can understand that. Like you wouldn't be able to read them and understand them, but I really can.
That's funny.
And I also, by the way, I will say I do use a lot of Google Docs. Like I would be lost without Google Docs, Google Sheets. Like it's amazing. Those save my life.
Now, one thing I'm curious about, do you work really far in advance or are you writing the thing that's going up today?
For Catch My Party, so my assistant Anna helps me with Catch My Party and we have a calendar. But again, it's a Google Sheet. Like there's nothing special about it. It has dates and it has what the blog post is. So we are a couple months ahead because we're thinking in terms of holidays. What we do is we post 3 times a week, and one of them is a new post where we typically will do some sort of roundup post because we're seeing trends on Catch My Party and we want to call out those trends. Like Fortnite parties are incredibly popular right now. If you're throwing a Fortnite party, come to my site because we're also giving away free Fortnite printables for your party. Anyway, so we want to say like, here are trends, and we will take all of our content and we'll create useful posts around those. Then one post a week, we take an old post and we revise it because we have so much content. So we'll update the photo, we'll update the text, links, that kind of thing. And then the third post we do a week is where we look at our 4 favorite parties of the week and we pick out what we think is terrific and we highlight some of the best elements. So we have this very rigid schedule and we have a calendar that talks about, that goes through these different posts. For MiloTree, we might roll out a new feature like we rolled out sparkles in your pop-up. So we will do a post about sparkles. So those are kind of one-off. But then for my podcast, every week I am doing a blog post based on the podcast. I do this for a variety of reasons. Some people want to read and they don't want to listen. We do it for SEO because otherwise Google has no idea what we're talking about. So I get, as I'm going through this, I'm like, I guess I am more scheduled than I even think I am.
Right.
But in terms of social media and stuff, like you and I, we have a calendar for sharing content. But now I'm wanting to kind of throw a monkey wrench into that and just do more spontaneous stuff. So to answer your question, I'm probably more scheduled than I think. I feel like I'm more ad hoc, but I'm probably not as ad hoc.
I think that for a lot of people, and I would include myself in this, we aren't necessarily scheduled on a day-to-day basis. Like Monday, 9 a.m., I do blank.
Right.
Tuesday, 10 a.m., I do blank. But on a week-by-week basis, if you zoom out to that, it is very scheduled and very rigid. But what we do on each individual day, as long as we're getting done what needs to get done to keep the businesses going and operating at full strength, at some point during the week, it doesn't matter if that happens at 3:30 in the afternoon or 10 o'clock at night, or you didn't work at all on Tuesday, but you did double time on Thursday. That's one of the beauties, maybe the blessings and the curses of being an entrepreneur, is we can schedule ourselves out and be rigid at a week level, but not have to be so much at a day-to-day level.
I totally agree. And then I came up with this other realization about myself, which is I like change. Meaning, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I'm so scheduled. Like, meaning, oh God, I've got meetings on Tuesday, but then like I just recently went to Round Top, Texas to go to this mastermind group with other bloggers. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to mess up my schedule. And do I really want to go? And then I went and I loved it. And I realized that I weirdly like those interruptions. I weirdly like going to conferences or, even though I think that I don't,
Right.
I think I like that it mixes up my schedule, and that if I had to sit here every day on a Monday and do this from 9 to 10 and that, like have that kind of schedule, I
Right.
think that makes me sad.
Hmm.
And
That
something
makes sense.
about the change is good for me.
Yes.
What about you?
I totally agree. Getting out, changing things up. It's just, that's the point of having one of these jobs, really.
Yeah, so I learned to embrace that like I notice my narrative around it is, oh no, I've got a conference coming up and it stresses me out and maybe I shouldn't go. Like literally I go through this entire thought process. And then now I've started to realize, no, those things give me energy. They are exhausting. And yes, I do have to do catch up afterwards. However, it changes it up and it gives me new energy and new insights, and that I welcome that.
Yes. Yes. Completely.
So that
Completely agree.
That's my next place where I'm like kind of like being honest with myself as a worker, as a, in terms of my own productivity.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's changing things up. And that's like the macro level of what we were talking about on a much smaller scale of getting out of the room to pour your tea or getting out of the house to go for a walk. It's changing things up, which I think is really common to people in creative fields. That's why we've chosen this career path, is because we are creative and we like change and we like creating something new. So it makes sense that we would want to experience life in that same way.
Absolutely. Like somebody reached out to me, I think it was because we launched Sparkles for MiloTree, and she reached out to me and she said, hey, can we do a feature, by the way, we're working on this, a feature where in your pop-up, you could put a link to, like, let's say you've got a holiday guide or you've got a sponsored post, and you want your pop-up to show that and say, go see this post, right? Like the specific link that you want to highlight. And so what I said to her, so we've been, mulling it over here to try to build it, but then she reached out with this same exact thing we're thinking about. And I emailed her and I said, hey, I think that's awesome. Could we get on the phone? And she was really shocked that I said this. I said, like, later today. And and she's going to be on my podcast, because I ended up calling. She's like, really? I didn't expect that you were going to email me back, let alone want to talk to me. And we ended up getting on the phone and talking for God knows how long, and talking about our businesses. She's a blogger, and we shared conferences and stuff like that. So ultimately, I was behind because I had all these things to do, but I got to hear about her business. I got to connect with her. We sit at our computers, and it can be kind of lonely. And all of a sudden I have a new friend. And for me, it was so worth it. And I had to tell myself when I got off the phone, I thought, oh God, I'm so behind, to say, no, Jill, that was worth it.
Yes, that's so good.
So notice in your own experience when those interruptions happen, when those things happen that get you off your schedule, to say, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe I can roll with this. Maybe I might have to work an hour later, or I might have to do more stuff, let's say on the weekend, but I get the flexibility to be able to have a random conversation in the middle of the day.
Right. And sometimes for me, like, those things breathe life into my work, and
Yes.
I'm able to then work more productively. And, I think like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time. But then a lot of the times I do, when it's something good like that. Like, no, I don't have time to go walk around Target for an hour, but I do have time to get on the phone with someone that's going to help me view my business in a different way, even just having a conversation with them.
Absolutely. Like
I always have time for that.
I know I say this on the podcast. I'm like, hey, if you want to reach out to me and Jillian at MiloTree.com, please do. But the truth is, I really like it.
Yes.
If I can answer a question or help you with something or whatever, because as I say, it can be lonely, or you can feel like you're yelling into the abyss.
Right.
And to me, it is all about the connection. Now, is it about the connection for David? No, because he can geek out on his technology. But for me, it's all about the connection.
Yeah, I agree.
So take that to heart. If you want to reach out, please do. Okay, so I guess what we're saying is to embrace the mess, to know that I'm sure there are incredibly organized people who have it all together, but most of us are kind of winging it. Right? We've got some systems in place. And then one last thing I wanted to share. So I was at this podcast, I was at this mastermind, and one blogger said this, and I thought this was really interesting. And what she said is, when she does not want to write that post, she thinks in terms of that, how much that post is worth for her, worth to her. So she'll say to herself, you know what? I can goof off, or I can finish this post and make $400. And for her, because she's got kids and she's got bills to pay and all that stuff, that is enough motivation for her to get off Instagram and write that post. And I thought about that, and I thought, wow, I bet I could use that as well. Rather than this post is just going to kind of be another post and it'll get done or whatever, especially if it's a sponsored post. Like, this post is making you money, this single post, and that it is worth it, so that you can go to Target and not have to worry, or you can buy that, new pair of shoes for your kid and not think about it, but to really think about it as a business. And business is not, it's work. Like, I remember in my first job, my boss was not always the most sensitive. And I remember, I was complaining about something, and he goes, you know what, Jill? They call it work because it's work. Otherwise, it would be called fun.
Oh my gosh.
And he was, again, it was an important lesson, I guess. But anyway, but my point is, this is also work that we're doing. And we are making money at this work. And the weird part is, the harder we work, typically, is if we're working smart, the more money we make. So to reframe that, oh God, I've got to write this post and I don't want to think about, but this is making me money, and I want money for my family or for my life so I can take that trip, whatever it is, as a way to go, okay, I can stop belly aching about this.
Just get it done.
Just get it done, because I want that $400.
Right.
So that is, something that I want to leave you with to think about. So there. So Paula, I'm leaving you with that thought. Do you have anything else that you feel is worth sharing in terms of productivity?
I think just the main thing is knowing that you have to feel it out for yourself and find the system that works for you. Because like you said, we can read all the books and listen to all of the recordings, or, do whatever we can. And the reality is, different things work for different people, and different people have a different maximum amount of time that they can work. If it's 25 minutes, if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours before you need a breather, before you need to go get a glass of water or a cup of tea or whatever, being willing to feel those things out and kind of find the rhythm that works best for you, and not feel like you're locked into someone else's rhythm or someone else's idea of productivity if it's not what feels right or is right for your particular business and for your own mental health.
I have to agree with that. So what I would say is, become curious the next time you beat yourself up for not getting your work done in the way in which you think you should. Be curious rather than self-hating, which we all want to do. Be curious and say, is this not my rhythm? And go, what is my rhythm? When does it feel effortless, or when does it feel fun? Or what works for me? And again, it's like, It's like for me, the big lesson, I had a daughter who wouldn't sleep as a baby, and I'm reading all the sleep books and all I'm doing is feeling so incredibly inadequate. And I'm the worst mother in the world because I can't get my baby to sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I realized it took so long for me to come to this, which is she just has her own rhythms, and it has nothing to do with me as a mom or her as like some sort of defective baby, but that the books don't work for me. And we had to figure it out for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So think about my defective baby who turned out to not be a defective baby. Think about your processes, or when you're listening to podcasts and all these people have all these productivity hacks or they've solved it, and recognize it's not that easy, and it really is all about your rhythms.
Right.
And think about that.
Are important.
And think about
finding them is important, but it doesn't matter what they are once you've found them.
Exactly. And think about that $400.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, Paula, thank you once again for being on the show, and we're going to do this again soon. And if you want to reach out to me, please do. You could break up my day, and I will look forward to it at Jillian@MiloTree.com. I hope you guys like that episode. My big takeaway is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all, but I want to hear from you about what works for you. So I go live on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern time in my Facebook group, the MiloTree Mastermind Group, and I'd love you to show up so we can talk productivity, because I want to hear what works for you. What have you tried? What are your wins when it comes to productivity? And I will see you here again next week.